Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to show you my most recent project. What was actually a very nice lesson for myself, because I spent so much currency in this character. In the end, I'm actually considering using that character as my league starter. So we're talking about I probably spend 150 exalts in this character, and in the end, what the gear is worth based on what it actually does in delivering of stats and so on, I could work with less than 10 exalts with this character doing Uber Elder Deathless without any problems. And I actually do consider that as my league starter because it's a lot of fun to play, good map clear speed, and the bossing with this tankiness. Okay, it's not a one-shot build like the Volatile Death Miner, for example, but this is a very safe and nice character. We're talking about a bleed-based Vaal Earthquaker. This is a Gladiator. It was a Scion before, so if you're gonna check back here, this was actually the character that I planned the character with. That's just a Scion based on bleeding, since I had more than 100 chance to bleed. So I decided to go with the Gladiator Ascendancy, which gives me 25% more damage with bleeding. And I took the Juggernaut as with stun immunity, or the Raider for more speed. But in the end, I just really wanted to try out a Gladiator. I haven't played a Gladiator. This is my first Gladiator character since I'm playing PoE. So I really wanted to get this guy going, and I thought that the Gladiator in this specific character build is better than the Scion, just because of the area clear that you're getting from the bleed explosions, okay? So in terms of lesson learned, so I really sticked a lot of currency into that. Elder Spike Gloves, Elder Steel Rings, Elder just everything, like besides the Devotos. But I really want to explain to you guys what fails that I did on this character, especially with like burning currency, what is 100% completely useless after the map showcase, after the Uber Elder, but I still want to show you guys this build. I wasn't really too sure if I should upload, if I should not upload. But yeah, here we go. Let's just run a Hydra Run, so you're gonna see the map showcase, how this build goes like no region is always like bad. But here we have Monster Life additional projectiles on Hydra. RIP. Additional projectiles on Hydra. Everybody who ever try to farm this Hydra with additional projectiles know that this is probably the hardest mod that you can actually get on this mod. So what we're doing is we're spamming Earthquake for the majority for the time, actually for bosses, because in the other hand we are having 2 stacks with the Flask up with Vaal Earthquake. So actually the map, you're gonna just activate your Flask, activate your Vaal Earthquake, and just demolish all these mobs here. So we are having like a 0.5 second soul game prevention. So if everything works as intended, you should actually be able to get your Vaal Earthquake up 24/7 if you have enough mobs to kill and get the Flask stacks back. So we're, as you see, already having 2 stacks back, another pop here, 2 stacks back. So it's not really a big problem here. Sometimes I'm missing the Flask, so sometimes it can happen that you're running out of souls. But this is not a Pathfinder, so yeah, easy on that point. As you saw, we're just like running through the tier 16 monolith like there is no tomorrow. Absolutely super tanky with 75% block chance and spell block as the Gladiator delivers. And I'm actually not a big fan of shield characters. Why is that? The main reason, even though it sounds stupid, the main reason why I don't like shield characters is because the shield MTXs suck, okay? That's why I always would prefer dual wield builds instead of going the super tank way. But this is like, it's first time I'm playing a Gladiator, first time I'm actually focusing on a shield in this build. And I have to say, I like this character so much that I probably consider taking that one as my next league starter in 3.8. If we're not getting like super surprises in 3.8, okay? So as you see, just popping your Flask, Vaal Earthquake, and just run around and just kill everything. We're doing like super small initial hits, right? We're talking about having 18,000 earthquake damage. So the initial hit is super low, but we're scaling our bleed damage. So this is actually a pure bleed base, and not like a bleed based character where you have like an insane amount of physical damage and you take the bleed on top of that. No, this is actually for it's like a bleed based only build. We only use Earthquake to actually deliver the bleed, because, as I said, initial hit 15,000 and the bleed damage is about 300,000 per stack. We're using Crimson then, so the more often we're gonna hit with Earthquake, we're gonna stack the 300,000 until we end up having like 2.5 million Shaper bleed DPS. Okay, here we are at the Hydra with additional projectiles. We're just gonna stand here and just gonna stack our Vaal Blade Vortex, yeah, almost. The Earthquakes, and I hope that we're gonna kill enough here to activate the Vaal skill. No, we don't. Ah, now we have. So this one is the best thing to do if you have the boss. As you see, we're just gonna stack the bleed and the boss is dead. Okay, there was not too many initial hits. The thing with the Vaal Earthquake is we're going to have like 7 Earthquakes with the aftershocks. So with one single Vaal Earthquake, we can deliver up the 8 bleed stacks, and this is when we have our full DPS. If you don't have that, you can still just stay here and just spam your Earthquakes and deliver the bleed stacks like that. But once you have, if you manage to get enough souls and to use this on a boss, you're pretty much gonna take one Vaal Earthquake to basically transition the Uber Elder like the Shaper phase, you know? So it's a really nice damage, beside having an insane amount of tankiness. So we're gonna watch an Uber Elder kill now that I did today on stream. I also did a couple of Uber Elder carries, and then we're gonna talk about the gear itself and also why did I fail so hard in gearing that. So let's see, Uber Elder with the bleed Earthquake Gladiator. Let's see how that works out. It's the second Uber Elder I'm actually doing. One I did a carry with, which was also deathless, but then I tuned it a little bit because I didn't really have leech. And I felt like once you hitting the Shaper multiple times with Earthquake, you run out of mana.
Exile, do something.
My spirit is spent.
But yeah, get some bleeds on and then just run around. So, this is the problem here. As long as I'm not hitting something, I'm actually running out of mana, which is bad. But usually 2 or maybe 3 Earthquakes should be enough for the bleeding to take care of the phases. So, yeah, it's definitely not one of these one-shot builds like the... Second, there is the beam. And yeah, for these mobs, just Vaal Earthquake gets the job done pretty easily. There is second time. Vaal Earthquake is also super nice to apply the bleeding stacks if you have it going. So that was now 4 times. Will he face? Yeah, he faced transitions. That's like 4 Earthquakes only. And the bleeding take care of it. And I actually could have 8 bleeding stacks. So we're talking about, yeah, about 3 million Shaper bleed DPS, which is by far fair enough to clear all the content. And the max block and the massive HP and everything will take care of probably most of the rest here. Maybe I can time it for the Vaal Earthquake to be active here on this phase transition. I'm not having enough Flask stacks, sadly. Ouch. Holy.
Embraced by misery.
Oh, here we go. Oh, I want to try it. The Vaal Earthquake. Oh, another Shaper Slam. Come on, dude. Get your phase transitions going. Yeah, now you do. Oh, like 10 minutes longer than usually. Because if you ask me, the phase transition was way earlier, but he was just stuck in animations there. Just about to hit the last phase here. Slowed again. Some bleeds on. Holy shit, these dudes are doing some stuff here. Another Shaper Slam, another Uber Elder Slam. Holy moly, get your stuff right. So another couple of Earthquakes and should be dead. But yeah. Very easy and nice builds to handle like the all content. Like the max block is just taking care of so much stuff. And this was really like a sloppy fight, okay? And still wasn't a big deal. That's it. Wow. I'm disappointed. Welcome back, hope you enjoyed this Uber Elder kill. It was a little bit sloppy, but in the end you saw how much this character can take in terms of damage. And as I said before, like before the clip here, I was doing Shaper runs because I'm still trying to do 100 Shaper runs to see how much loot did I get, so I'm really struggling with that, so it's kind of bored to do Shaper all the time. But in the end, I tried to tank a Shaper hit, but I blocked 8 of 8 Shaper slams just like that. So I was just sitting here dodging the balls and be like, yeah, come on, Shaper slam me, please, you know, and he never hit that. So I actually want to try if I can survive it, but in the end I was like, yeah, probably I'm gonna survive it. My block chance is just too good. So let's talk about the build and the gearing here and the insane, stupid things that I've done with this build or to this build and what you should not do. So the helm is pretty much easy. We are having a Devotus with reduced earthquake duration. The good thing here is reduced earthquake duration, less duration support will actually reduce the soul game prevention of our Vaal earthquake. So we have 3.84 seconds. With my flask up, it's 0.5 seconds. So the first 0.5 seconds I cannot gain soul, and the skill is lasting almost 4 seconds. So I actually have 3.5 seconds time to kill enough mobs to get my stacks back. And since we're using the reduced soul cost of Vaal skills plus the flask, we're talking about probably 12-13 kills for a Vaal earthquake, which is easy to get. And you also get the stacks when you're hitting the boss, so even if you're doing Uber Elder or so on, you can just attack it, and once the bleeds are up, you're gathering souls and souls and souls. At one point you can just use your Vaal earthquake, but at this point the boss is actually dead already, okay? So as I said, Devotus Devotion, a pretty nice helm. If you want to get a rare helm with reduced earthquake duration, they're kind of hard to get. I wanted to get a reduced earthquake duration on a good base, but I could not get my hands on one, so I took this one for 1 Exalt. So pretty easy here, right? We have your Leap Slam, Endurance Charge, Melee Stun, Blood Magic, and Faster Attacks. Since our Leap Slam stuns, it's pretty easy when you just jump around that you get your Endurance Charges up. Another good thing is, if you're popping your Vaal Earthquake, you're gonna do like 7 Earthquakes when you're moving, okay? So the thing is, when you're like moving, it's like 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's gone, okay? If you're like building in Leap Slams, like 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay? So you can really like jump to mobs without losing the earthquake steps, because you have to like step to apply it, you know? So if there are no mobs, you're just gonna jump and just deliver the Vaal earthquake to the next pack here. So for the weapon, this is the first tricky part, and this is actually the only tricky part. And I really want to make some words to that, because I really struggle to get this build going firsthand. So the thing is, this Vaal cost skill and the combination with Malevolence. So the usual thing is we want to reduce the earthquake duration with the enchant plus the less duration. So we have a super low soul game prevention, right? The problem with Malevolence is we're a bleed based build, and 20% more damage over time, which is bleeding, is a lot of damage. The problem is Malevolence gives you skill effect duration. This is actually the thing that we don't want to have, right? So if you see here, if you're not having Malevolence on, we are having a soul game prevention of 2.64 seconds, and once I pop my flask, 0 second soul game prevention. I do not have soul game prevention, okay? So that makes it super easy. If we're going here to Act 9, for example, because I want to give you some additional thoughts that I had and what I came up with, what would be the best solution, okay? So, if we don't have Malevolence, you can take Pride instead of that. We have 0 second soul game prevention, so we can just pop the first pack here, get our our Earthquake going. As soon as we hit that, as you see, no soul game prevention, I can just use that non-stop as soon as we're killing stuff here. This is actually a little bit of a bug here with the flask. But usually you press the flask, 0 soul game prevention, I activate it, I instantly get back my souls. As you see, absolutely no problem to have 1 or 2 stacks permanently up. So the problem with Malevolence is it just gives you so much bleed damage that I don't really want to skip it, you know? So the thing is, as you know from my Vaal builds and the Pathfinder, we have increased effect of flasks on you. I have 8% over here, and I'm having a double 8% on my Brutal Restraint. We're talking about Defiance. Here I have 8%, and here I have 8%. So that's 24% effective flasks, right? So now check this out. I have Vaal soul gain prevention of 264, and I use my flask 0-second soul gain prevention without any flask effect, okay? This is actually super nice to use. But if you're using your Malevolence to get like 20% more damage on your bleeding, you're not gonna have this. You have 3.84 second soul gain prevention. With the flask we are at 1.14, and even with 3 times 8% flask effect that I have on my Brutal Restraint and on the Conqueror's Potency, I'm getting down to 0.54 seconds. So as I said, without Malevolence, if you're using like Pride or something to make more damage, you're gonna have 0 soul gain prevention. You don't need anything besides the Soul Catcher flask. That's it, you know. But I still think for Uber Elder and so on, the Malevolence and 20% more damage for bleed is just so massive that I just consider sometimes I'm just not having my Malevolence up. Unless you're having like an insane duel with like 3 or 4 flask effect duration. So you're really gonna get your soul gain prevention down to 0.28 or something. So I just give you the 2 options here. Either you skip Malevolence and just play with the flask alone to keep up your Vaal Earthquake, or you're gonna use the Malevolence for the damage and use some flask effect as much as you can to get the soul gain prevention as low as possible. I crafted this weapon with a double fossil. It was like the bloodstained fossil as usual for the soul coast for Vaal skills. This is 100% here, right? And the other one was a corroded fossil. The corroded fossil, I don't know if I still have some over here. Here is one. The corroded fossil gives you more poison and bleed modifiers. The best way to do it is using a 3-modded resonator. The reason for that is corroded gives you poison and bleed modifiers. If you're using now the bloodstained fossil with the corroded and add a jacked one, a jacked says more physical but no chaos modifiers. So if we think back, poison is actually chaos damage over time, right? So if you're using corroded and jacked on top of that together in one resonators, you can only get the bleed mods because you're blocking the poison mods with chaos, with the jacked fossils. So the best way to do is probably bloodstained, corroded, and jacked. Bloodstained for the Vaal mod, then corroded for the bleed mod, and the jacked to block the poison mod. Because there's nothing worse than if you're getting a weapon like this with a soul gain, with a soul cost of Vaal skills, and then have 60% chance for poison to be inflicted 100% more damage, okay? So if you decide to say like, wait a second, if I'm just playing this way without the Malevolence here, right? You can still skip the reduced cost of Vaal skills, okay? So your Earthquake will probably take like 20 souls or something since we get reduced cost from the Soul Catcher, right? This would be the easiest way, because I'm not gonna lie, I did spend quite a lot of bloodstained fossils to get my weapon going. So what I would definitely recommend, if you want to have the soul cost of Vaal skills to reduce the Vaal Earthquake cost, just use the weapon as you get it, okay? I don't want to really say the actual number that I spent, but it was a lot of bloodstained fossils, and we're talking about 50 exalts of bloodstained fossils to get this weapon, okay? I know it is always RNG, it can be on the first one, it can be super good, but in my term, I was just so unlucky, and at one point, I just probably wanted to give up. I actually played then with this weapon here, with the physical damage with Culling Strike, and the reduced cost of Vaal skills. The problem here is we are a pure bleed-based build. So I do really want to have the 60% chance for bleed, what you get from a corroded fossil, okay? So this is... I don't want to play without this mod. I'd rather skip the soul cost of Vaal skills, have like 1 or 2 Vaal Earthquakes less in the map, but in the end I do have a lot of bleed damage. If you're getting this mod, this is a prefix mod, just like multi-mod, get a physical damage. It's an Elder weapon here, because maybe I hit the Brutality mod, like Socketed Gems with Brutality, maybe Fortify, maybe anything like that, and I would just craft the Flat Fist on top of that, and I should be fine. My weapon has like 300 DPS right here, right? I don't have my PoE trait macro ready, so I cannot really show you. But as I said, the 100% more damage with bleed is like mandatory. The soul cost is just quality of life. If you have the currency, if you want to make your bleed build a little bit more fast, like with the Perma Vaal Earthquake, this is the way to go. If not, Just don't, okay? Please. I have here a vulnerability, empower support, and blasphemy. The reason for that is my amulet, which is the Impresence. Impresence gives us a free vulnerability. We have 100% reduced mana reservation, so it is 0, okay? So that's why I empower it up. So the cost itself doesn't really matter, because it's 0. That's why I'm using this as a 3 mod here. For the shield, I took an Elder Shield here, can be any other shield too. You want to look for life resistance, the typical rare item, okay? Life resistance, maybe global physical damage, maybe max resistance, maybe whatever you can get, okay? Just make sure that you have a lot of armor and block chance. So you want to really have this 75% block chance over here, right? And with the Gladiator Ascendancy, you're going to convert the block attack damage to block spell damage as well. So we are having 75% attack and spell damage block here. This is super insane. First time I'm playing this build with max block. I'm gonna say I love it, dude. I love it. This is just insane tankiness. Alright, here I have cast one damage taken, steel skin, and increased duration. Pretty standard steel skin setup here. I don't want to use the Immortal Call because I actually want to live with my endurance charges that I'm getting. I don't want to lose them for just no reason, right? Here, for the Astral Plate, I was going for a maim chest. This one turned out okay, I would say. We have life, we have maim, and then just multi-modded with like strength, resistance, life, whatever you need, right? So nothing too special here, but still, maim is nice to have. I have here Earthquake with less duration support, then Brutality, Chance to Bleed, Deadly Ailments, and Swift Affliction. Why Swift Affliction and Deadly Ailments? Because they give me more damage with ailments. Bleeding is a physical ailment, so it is counting as ailment, and the Swift Affliction for more damage over time, and Bleed is damage over time as well, okay? So these two will really make a lot of difference in the Bleed here. Chance to Bleed support, usually just because of the added physical damage and the bleeding, because at the moment I'm actually having 140% chance to bleed, which is overkill, but I don't see a reason to skip chance to bleed because this one gives me so much damage for bleeding. So even though I'm getting the bleed chance, like whatever, you know. So, and now to the interesting part. Yeah, let's go over the belt real quick. The same typical life belt that I use for a lot of builds. Life recovery rate, so our life regen and the leech is converted faster than usual. And then just life resistance, effect of flask, if you want to have that one on top of your jewels here. If not, just life resistance. And I personally think that the Elder belt with the increased recovery rate is really, really nice to have on life-based builds. Okay, let's talk about the Titan Greaves. They're just like, I bought an Elder base because I was hoping for some nice Elder mods, maybe like whatever we can get. In the end, I just multi-modded resistance and movement speed with life and hybrid life. I think it was like life and armor, yeah. Most important here, probably the regen enchant is always nice to have, especially on tanky characters. Here we have the Malevolence, the Enlightened support, Herald of Purity, and the War Banner, okay? So if you're not missing that one out, like I do all the time, I always forget about this one. Like usually when you're fighting something, you're gonna place the banner and have like more damage, right? I always forget about this one, so I just leave it like that and just have the increased physical damage and the whatever I get from that one. Okay, let's talk about the big major fails that I did. It's this, and this. So, we're talking about a steel ring, item level 86 Elder, double steel ring, and Elder spike gloves 86. So, let's see what the price says here, okay? So, we're saying spiked gloves, going for 86 Elder, because this is just my intention, my dream, you know. I want to have a really the best base in the game, Elder Astral Plate, Elder Spike Gloves, Elder Steel Rings, to have all these cool melee modifiers, life modifiers, weapon unarmed range, whatever you can get, right? Problem is 30 exalts starting price, okay? 30 exalts starting price. And if I'm gonna check the end result here, what is the end result? Life and physical damage against bleeding enemies. How do you get this mod? With corroded fossils again, right? So we have this corroded fossil that gives you the bleed modifiers, can be poison as well. If you want to make sure, go corroded and jack, they're both not too expensive. And then I have this physical mod. Life is not an Elder mod. So I literally paid 30 exalts for spike gloves in the Elder version without having a single Elder mod on this one, okay? So if we're gonna check the other price, the one that is actually going for, you know, we're talking about 50 chaos. That's a price difference of like 29.7 exalts. What I spent on my gloves, 100% useless, okay? And this is what I wanted to say with this one. I spent so much currency for items that is absolutely not necessary. Same with the rings, okay? We're telling here, like, steel ring, item level 86, elder. How much do they go for? I think like 20 exalts. Yeah, wait a second. Any non-unique and any non-corrupted here, okay? So, we're talking about 16, 20, 20, 20. So, 20 exalts per ring is 40 exalts for 2 rings, okay? Now, same principle as the spike gloves. There is no elder mod on my rings. So this is just something that is frustrating for me. If you're gonna spend so much currency and people wanna rebuild this, right? Let me get to D&D. People actually wanna like watch this, they copy the path of building, they see, oh, mbXtreme is using elder spike gloves. If they have the currency, they're gonna buy these items for absolutely no reason. And this is why I start to hate myself, because I'm always spending so much currency, so unnecessary, okay? So, if you want to check this one out, they have both increased damage with ailments. That's also the corroded fossil mod, because it counts for poison and bleeding, both are ailments. So we have here multi-modded damage with ailments, here with tier 1 flat fist, and here we have intelligence, because we are starving intelligence. Pretty usual for any kind of duelist, berserk, any melee builds, you know. We do starve on intelligence, taking 30 points here, plus a 50 on the ring. The rest, multi-mod, increased damage, fist damage, resistance, whatever you need, right? So, as I said before, I spent 30, 50, 70 exalts for 3 bases, where none of these is anywhere near close to an elder mod. So if we check the non-elder mod here, we're talking about, yeah, 10 chaos base ring. Good job, mbX. So, the next thing that I want to talk about is 2123 gems. What I, like, since the last, like, 3 or 4 build guides that I did were all with 2123 gems, and especially on the melee type of stuff here, let's check out 2123 brutality support. Oh, God. Let me quickly activate my PoE trade macro. Here we go. PoE trade macro, once it's alive, we can actually check the prices here, or at least, like, yeah, the price of the gem. Could actually do manually as well, but hey, if we have the tools, we're gonna use them, right? So, does it work already? Yeah. So, we're talking about 9 exalts for a 2123 brutality support. We're talking about 1 exalt for the 21 chance to bleed, so this is not played too often. Then we have the last duration support. 2123 currently go for 4 exalts. So with placing in my gear a lot of 2123 gems, I probably spent 40 exalts just in gems, okay? Absolutely overkill, not needed. And I promise you guys, the next builds, I'm not using more than 2020 gems, because I just think that I make my builds unnecessarily expensive, and I do apologize for that. It's just like when you have the currency, and we're talking about, I have like almost 600 exalts here, you don't care about that, you know? If a gem is 10 exalt, you just buy it, you know? But I always forget about that people actually do want to try my builds, and then they see, oh my god, I need a 2123 chance to bleed, I need a 2123 brutality, a 2123 Vaal earthquake, and I have to say this is just overkill, and I do apologize, and I hope that I just gonna restrict me myself here, that I'm not using any more 2123 gems on the next build guides. Okay. Enough, like, bad talking about this build. This build is extremely good. So, in the gloves, I have Reckoning, Brutality, then we have Swift Affliction, and Deadly Ailments. So, what is Reckoning? Reckoning is an attack that I cannot do myself. I can actually, it spawns itself, or at least it attacks itself once you're blocking an attack, right? Since I never play any kind of block builds, this is something completely new. There's a couple of those Reckoning, or like, counter attacks, they're called. This is something we also have, here on our build here. We have the chance, where is it? Your counter attacks deal double damage, okay? I had to search the internet. What the fuck is a counter attack, you know? But I found out we have Reckoning, this is the block one. Then you have there is one counter attack that's for dual wielding, and one counter attack that is for something else. So Reckoning is the one that we're using since we're block based build. So once we block, We use this Reckoning, and then we're gonna have Brutality, Swift Affliction, and Deadly Ailments. So we're gonna stack our Crimson Dance even faster, okay? So the only thing we're gonna do is get the Crimson Dance going, get as many bleed stacks as possible. Since we are not really attacking too fast, it's not that easy to get Crimson Dance going, so every other source of applying bleed will help us. The question would you probably have is, why Crimson Dance actually, if it's so slowly stacking? The problem is, Crimson Dance, you can stack up bleed 8 times, okay? So, after 2 bleeds, you have the same bleed damage as without Crimson Dance. So every other bleed on top of 2 bleeds is additional damage. And this is the reason why we're gonna take Crimson Dance here. So anything else that I forgot to mention? Hopefully not. Flasks, Life Flask, Bleed Immunity, Lion's Roar for the more melee physical damage. Wait a sec, I'm actually not even sure if the bleeding or the melee damage do actually give us more damage here on bleeding. Let me check. We have the... Where do I have it? The Impale Cyclone, Emblem, Fireblade Vortex, Volatile Death. Gladiator, here. Blade Vaal Earthquake, there we go. So we have 326,000 damage per bleed stack. So let me check the Lion's Roar. No. So, as you see here, the melee damage does not higher our bleed chance. So this is actually a fail, because on the other hand, we get armor, but could be a Rumi's Concoction if you're liking the block chance. Could be anything else. But I was just assuming that the melee damage... I'm new to the bleed stuff, so I really want to explain myself here. I did actually think that the melee damage will increase our bleeding damage, but it seems like it does not. So, thing is, how do I think bleed works? Okay, I think I made an Excel spreadsheet here. I think it was this one. Because it's learning by doing, you know? So what I said is, you have an average hit. This is the amount of your hitting the target, okay? 70% of that hit will be bleed damage. So the higher my hit is, the higher my bleed is, right? This is the actual thinking that I have, right? So if I'm hitting for 100,000, let's say, my bleed damage will actually be this times 0.7, because 70%, right? So with the that would be 560,000 with the Crimson Dance stacks, but it's not like that. Why not? Because for some reason, melee damage and the attack damage. This is something that I had on my Scion here. So if I was actually planning to go Gladiator with Raider, Raider gives me 20% attack damage. Those 20% attack damage does not count for bleed. I'm not entirely sure if this is really the correct form. Somebody on stream told me that only the pure physical damage added to weapons, to attacks, do actually count, but not attack damage and not melee damage. So Path of Building says the same, but we all know Path of Building is actually kinda nuts when it comes to bleed, impale. It doesn't even calculate impale. So I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not. What I see, it's not really affecting my bleed damage, so you can skip that one. Then we have Consecrated Ground, Sulfur Flask with Freeze Immunity, our Soul Catcher. Make sure that you're having the 40% reduced soul gain prevention. The damage modifier 60 to 100 is not that important. Like, if you're having the 40%, then like 90% or something is totally fine. And then a Quicksilver Flask for more movement speed. Let's talk about the gem, or at least the skill tree choice here. With our Gladiator, it means we're going first for the 2 bleed nodes, which gives us more bleed damage, and most importantly, enemies you kill explode, dealing 10% of their max life as physical damage. So, and we have 20% more damage with bleeding, another bleed node. This is like super nice. Since we're a shield-based character, we're gonna take the Pain Forged and the Versatile Combatant to convert our block spell damage to attacks, also to the spell block damage, right? So this is like really insane if you have double 75% here. So, what else do I have? The skill tree link is given in the description below, the Path of Building link, so nothing too fancy here, just live. Watcher's Eye, I do have a double Malevolence here, which is a damaging ailment you inflict, deal damage 15% faster. This is basically a more multiplier, what I would call it, for bleeding. Because if you're gonna say, you're gonna apply... let's say we're gonna apply 100,000 bleed damage, 100k bleed damage in 1 second, right? If you're having this mod here, the 50% faster means you're gonna do 100k damage in 0.85 seconds, right? So it's just the same damage delivered faster within a second. So basically it is a 50% more multiplier, and we have this one over here as well. bleedings you inflict deal damage 5% faster, and then I take on top of that the recovery rate of life with energy shield, which is basically the same thing as the belt mod that I have here with increased life recovery rate. So another good thing is, and why this is actually a League starter friendly build, it is a non-crit RT build. Means our hits cannot be evaded, right? And we're not caring about jewels with double, triple multiplier, this multiplier cluster here or here. So we're just having our final damage with the bleed damage, which is super nice for clearing all the content in the game. Super tanky build, no need for crit or investing into that. And RT builds and bleed builds, which is usually played together here, as my league starter in this league was also an RT bleed cycloner, and this works very, very well because although if you have a lot of currency, bleed falls off at the later stages because stuff like impale or crit gets better if you have heavy investment. If not, RT crit or at least RT bleed will take care of most of the content for a tiny budget here, right? Then I have here the Red Nightmare. This is for gaining a chance to get endurance charges on kill, and also for the fire resistance that I have in radius, I get the block chance. And here we have barbarism and all resistance to increase our block, and you want to have 75%, right? So if I unequip this jewel, I'm actually running like 64%. So I'm getting like 11% block chance just from this jewel. And this is the main reason we're using this. The extra like endurance charge on kill is something you have on mapping alive all the time, but for bossing not. So I really want to count in bossing here because I think once you cannot sustain something on bosses, you should not count it in. And this is endurance charge on kill. If there is Shaper in the face, how are you ever going to kill something unless he spawns ads, you know? So endurance charge when you get hit is something different, because this is something you can have on the boss fight as well, not like this one. The rest is just bleed nodes, more axe nodes, weapon range. Here we have one jewel slot for the Conqueror's Potency. Bloodletting, Crimson Dance, more axe nodes. Then I have here that I talked about before with the Brutal Restraint. Just unequip, divine it, get in and search for increased effect of flasks on you. I have mine with 2 here. And I also have like 20 cold resistance on this one. Here we have blind enemies on hit. Here we have global accuracy rating, which doesn't matter because we are RT. Then we have chance to avoid being stunned, like some additional stuff here, right? So, since the path of building does not calculate in this jewel, you see it is here, or at least like this is the one that I put in here, right? You don't have the flask effect. So what I did is, I was manipulating, I was taking one self-made jewel in here, right? So if you're gonna see this jewel in the path of building, you know why. If you take a look at the axe, all modifiers are red, okay? The reduced Vaal cost of skills doesn't really matter, but the chance to have 100% more bleeding, which is substantial damage here, is missing completely. So what I did is, I was just adding this jewel since the Brutal Restraint is missing on my tree anyways, right? So I socket this one into here, and this one has all the modifiers that I'm getting from the Brutal Restraint, talking about the 100% more damage from the weapon, bleeding you inflict deal damage 15% faster because this one here is red written as well. So these 15% doesn't count in as well, right? Then we have life recovery rate. This is also from the Malevolence. We have 40 cold resistance coming here 20 and here 20, I think, on my build. Here we have 20, for example. Then this jewel has 16% increased effect of flasks on you. This is because of this and this here. So as I said, this jewel just fixes the stuff my Brutal Restraint gives to me with the additional notes and also the bleeding modifier. So I'm having an accurate number here, right? Although the 300,000 seems low, but if we're saying 326,400.5 times 8 by the Crimson Dance, we're doing 2.6 million Shaper bleed DPS. And yes, this is Shaper bleed, because otherwise it would be 430k. So this is actually a little bit more here when you're mapping, but who cares about mapping? So this is the number that I'm interested in. I think it's still going to be more than that, but yeah, this is what Path of Building tells us. So, okay, Path of Building is in the description below, as I was explaining before. Here we have another jewel just fixing intelligence problems and some Mana Leech. Mana Leech, this is something I have to mention here. I took one Life Leech on the gloves and the Mana Leech on the jewels because we're not having Leech on the tree. So I could invest 4 points into Life and Mana Leech. But I don't think 4 points is necessary. That's why I'm just placing that stat on a jewel here. I got this jewel for like 20 chaos, 25 chaos or something. Yeah, pretty easy stuff to get here. Because on the other hand, if you're not leeching, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 earthquakes, and then you run out of mana. And this is the worst thing that can happen when you're fighting Shaper and you're spamming here and running around and get like like an earthquake down like every 3 or 4 seconds. So as soon as you have one single mana leech node here, you're gonna have an easy time doing that. Alright, so talking about bandits real quick, we killed all, right? So bandits, we should actually killed all. No, passives was the right word here. So 2 from deal with the bandits, it's a non-crit build. You could technically take Oak for the life regen and the global fist. This is something I would recommend if you're using this build as a league starter. If not, then just take the 2 skill points and get like 2 life nodes here or something like that. For Pantheons, I'm currently using... actually, Yugol for the Uber Elder and Solaris for even more tankiness. Can take Lunaris for mapping. And maybe like, I don't know, like maybe Tukuhama for the regen if you're stand still. Because when we're spawning this, we're actually standing still. So we're gonna get some additional regen over here. For the cosmetics, I'm using a very beautiful Blood Guardian setup here. Blood Guardian helmet, Blood Guardian body armor, gloves, and boots. This was a supporter pack, I think the $60 one, with Blood Knight wings. We have the Synthesis crown attachment. I think that fits in pretty well with the mask here. We have the Kacha axe, the Carnage shield with the Carnage weapon effect. Then we have the Blood Guard footprint, so we are leaving like these bleed footprints here. Gore character effect, Blood Guardian portrait frame, and the Wrangler portal effect that I got from a free mystery box. So thank you very much. Then we have the Gore earthquake effect. I just think like usually my intention was to use the new one. This was the reason why I'm actually starting the earthquake, and it looks kind of amazing. I gotta say that, right? But on a bleed-based character, I just think that the Gore effect looks just better with this bleed earthquake. Then we have Demonic Leap Slam, which is the red one, a Carnage aura effect, Celestial Herald effect, what doesn't really count, and the Invisible buff effect for our, where is it? The banner over here. Okay, my mouth is fuzzy. I was talking way too much. I'm always explaining as good as I can for newer players. To start with builds like that, okay? I really want to take my time explain this as good as possible, because I know I'm reading a lot of comments, and yeah, I'm reading the comments where people say like, dude, why do you always explain your builds as would we have never played Path of Exile before? It's not my intention. I just want to clean out a lot of questions that I'm getting asked every single day. Since I'm playing like 20-30 builds every single league, you can imagine as a streamer and YouTuber, when you're logging in, people are asking, hey, why do you have 5 stacks of Vaal skill? Hey, why do you have so much bleed damage? Hey, why is this? Why is that? So with bringing those videos, and if somebody is really interested in the build, he's going to watch the 30 minutes. And yes, I know it's a lot of time that they spent on the video, and it should be quicker. For the ones that are just stealing the path of building, then go for it, and yeah, start commenting like, oh my god, your gear is so expensive, although I explained it very easily why did I fail so hard on equipping those characters. But yeah, enough talking. I hope you enjoyed this build. I really had a lot of fun playing this build. It's a super sweet Uber Elder killer, boss killer, sweet mapper when you get your Vaal Earthquake up, and I'm probably gonna consider that as my league starter in 3.8, but we're gonna see out and wait for the patch notes and what the next league will bring us. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.